carefully. This is very really good information if you wanted to take up this, and I'm giving you information, so whichever it is applicable you try to accept it and try to implement that. But in fact this is the first point of the Ren meridian. This is known as a Hui In, Huyyin, Hui In. So where specifically this point is located midway between the scrotum and then anus in the males, whereas in midway between the anal region and then the posterior labial commissure of the woman. So there are the two different parts which is located for the male and female. This particular point is located on the midway between the scrotum. So how to be done this? You have to lift the scrotum upward direction and then look at about the anal region, where at the base of the scrotum. So just you insert the needle nearly 0.8 chun to 1 chun insertion perpendicular you can do over this particular point. But this particular area, there are the two kinds of the muscles, so which we call as a ischemic cavernosus muscles. At the same time the another muscles is called as a bulbospongious muscles. So these are the two different types of the muscles which is located on the perineum side. So where just we need to insert the needle in between these two muscles. But however those muscles are the spongy muscles. At the same time it is the ischium cavernosus muscles. So in between this particular point is located, you just insert. Look at the image, you come to know the vaginal region and also anal region. Where the vagina get terminated, that means is the posterior labial commissure or the commission. So that particular region you can find out is the center point to be activated. So now location we understand how. Just insert the needle in the lithotomy position. The person should have the labor position. The male or female should lie down in the prone position. Not prone position, is the supine position. Through the supine position means he facing upward direction, right? Prone position means facing downwards direction, right? Now lithotomy position means lithotomy is nothing but is the labor position. So that position patient should lie down and then apply the needle. Sir, how is it embarrassing and to apply this needle and also really very annoyed? So however, when you could not able to use this point, there is the alternate point also existing. Of course, without this point, you have to use the another point to be known as a Chang Chiang, that point to be known as a DU1. Again, it is embarrassing to apply this point, but alternative to that particular point, definitely you can use the point to be known as a Pai Hui, that is the DU20 point, alternative point for the Huyyin point, right? What are the indications can be recommended over here? I think some noise is there in between. I request to somebody who is creating that, kindly you just mute. Now you understand about the indications, but it is the numerous indications. What I told you about the DU20, in the similar way there are the numerous indications and definitely can be treatable by activating this particular point. But especially what are the major indications? Now you can see about I told you there are the 5 types of the hemorrhoids, and also there is one theory says is the 9 types of the hemorrhoids. So what are the internal hemorrhoids or the external hemorrhoids? Definitely you can use this point for all kinds of them bleeding disorders, and also the person who could not able to pass the evacuation of the motion or the stool. So that particular time it is recommended to apply the needle in this particular region. Of course sometimes the patient could not able to take this kind of the treatment, or the practitioner is not willing to apply the needle, is the super simple for the patient themselves. They can activate this particular point by giving the pressure itself. When they need to sit on the chair or they sit on the restroom, washroom, then definitely once they open as a lithotomy position, ask them to give the pressure to this particular point. When we understand, lift the scrotum to the upward direction. For the female it's not required. You just below the perineum, you just under that give the pressure to this particular point. क्या सर अच्छा लगता है सर प्रेशर देने में? जिसको तकलीफ है उसको तो अच्छा लगता है, जिसको तकलीफ नहीं है तो करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. लेकिन when the person says, ये प्रूवन है बेस्ड ऑन द एविडेंस एप्लीकेशंस, जितना प्रेशर इस स्पॉट पे देंगे इतना बवल एलिमिनेशन के लिए फ़ायदा होगा. You understand, the people who having the bowel related irregularities or the excessive or the deficiency, both the conditions, definitely we can activate this particular point by using the finger pressure, by using the pressure on index finger. Index finger give the pressure to that particular region. That will be really helpful to treat for the all kinds of the hemorrhoids. Of course, when there is the for the fistula, because it is a very acute and mild disease, that particular situation it is recommended to use. Without that internally fistula is maximum level has been come out from that situation, better you can send to the hemorrhoid specialist practitioners. Definitely they will do the needful. A mild to moderate problem, definitely this will be really helpful to treat for the any kind of the anal related disorders. There are the 9 types of the disorders also can be treatable, which I told you. The anal muscles is called as there are the 2 kinds of the sphincters. So that is the internal sphincters and then external sphincters. One is the voluntary muscles, the other one is the involuntary contraction to be taken place. When the voluntary contractions are there, so that particular time you just give the pressure. While giving the pressure to that particular point, you are activating to the central nervous system, you are activating to the internal what we call as a involuntary muscles also regulated once we give the needling or the pressure to that particular point. So that's the reason. But however, the people who are suffering for this kind of the anything related to the burning sensation in the anal region, the urinary burning sensation or the nocturnal emission, enuresis also divided into 4 different types: primary enuresis, secondary enuresis, right? At the same time is the nocturnal enuresis, daytime enuresis. Enuresis means excessive urination, involuntarily pausing the urination in the particularly bed wetting or the bed wet. So seminal emission is emission means is the discharge. When the person is getting the semens is not very oftenly getting the discharge several times, that also can be regulated by activating this point. Seminal emission is not a disease, but before marriage sometimes get the wet dreams to the male and then female also. So that particular time monthly once or twice can be possible. I told you seminal emission is not a disease. कुछ लोगों को ऐसा लगता है, people will come before the marriage, सर मुझे डेली हो जाता है या फिर हफ्ते में एक बार होता है, महीने में एक बार मेरा सेमेन डिस्चार्ज हो जाता है. So in this particular situation, you remember this is not a disease. When the person gets monthly once or twice or thrice, so normally it will happen. So later that will be naturally can be subsided in the natural form. That's not continuously it's happening. Definitely that having the impact to the human health system. Physically वो weak हो जाता है, मगर ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. So person is very keen to know about the sex and wanted to watch the various porn films and so on, so that causing the problem to get the seminal emission. But however, seminal emission is one way is good. There are the many kinds of the fluid. What kind of the fluid? Seminal fluid एक होता है, prostatic fluid एक होता है, seminal vesicle fluid एक होता है और testicle का fluid अलग होता है, semen अलग होता है. तो वाइट फ्लूइड अलग होता है. तो फिर all our fluids are connected to the spermatic cord. Now we are talking about the Rennes meridian, that is Rennes 1 only. So anything which I told you apart from that giving pressure, so now you understand the spermatic cord. Spermatic cord and then epididymis, so that is connected to the scrotum, and then epididymis, where the semen or the sperms are stored and produces and synthesizes in the scrotum, right? When the scrotum having the good quality, then definitely the sperms having the enough amount of the minimum, how many millions are required in each ml of the semen? Nearly 20 to 60 millions or 20 to 100 millions of the sperms are required per ml. Then you understand which is at least how many ml? Single ml. So in that case, less than 20 million is there, that to be known as a oligospermia, tetrasospermia, or azospermia, so on, so many related diseases. Of course, when there is a zero sperm is there, zero sperm is there. I am audible in that Zoom? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Good. So when the zero sperm is there, so that particular time there are the chances are there the scrotum is not synthesizing precisely, number one. Number two, the scrotum is producing and synthesizing the sperms but could not able to come out through the spermatic cord. So only the water is coming out but the sperms are not coming out. Only the fluid is coming out but there is no sperms under that. In that particular situation, lift the scrotum and then apply the needle exactly on the Huyin point. When there is the deficiency of the sperm quality, morphology is weak, characteristics are weak, so that particular situation, the motility, so we need to strengthen the quality of the sperm. So that time also we just apply this needle. We make sure initially before applying the needle, we just confirm with the patient declaration that are you okay to insert this particular place to treat for this particular illness. If the patient is accepted, then we try to apply this particular needle. So either in male or female, so doesn't matter, but we need to recheck before inserting this particular needle, isn't it? So now about this head Rennes 1 point, at the same time what are the other indications can be treatable? So most of the times you understand I am giving you is the key information to all of you. Do you require the key information?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it really?
Yes,
in the Zoom also please tell me. Do you want the key information? So remember this is the most crucial for the women, why they do get the headache. It's a super simple problem. Generally the women after the marriage or before the marriage, the women get the problem about the oftenly obtaining the headache, causing the migraine headache, causing the cluster headache, causing the occipital temporal and various kinds of the headache, and the stress is more for them, anxieties are more, depressions are more, hysteria, schizophrenia, so many related the mind and psychosomatic related diseases will going to happen to the girl or woman, especially for the girl I mean to say, the who don't get the marriage for the span of 24 years or 25 years, at the same time till 30 years they are not getting the marriage, they oftenly get the headache as well. After the marriage they will get the headache also. What could be the reason? But here I wanted to give you as a good information that is not that you should not make this wrong kind of the thought in your mind, which is the essential information, you keep it in your mind, because every woman after the marriage they required is the pleasantable feeling always. In the globe they wanted to know anything is the awesome kind of the feeling or some kind of the pleasantable feeling when doing the coitus. When doing the coitus means joining the male and female, the female in and then male is the yang. When joining together, making the pleasantable, blissful and happiness always. So that situation is required after the marriage. That means is joining together. When the person is after the marriage and he could not love properly to the wife, that particular situation, definitely the woman will get the headache. I mean to say, when is not meeting or joining together weekly once or twice, we are not, the male and female are not joining together, that means coitus. Coitus means is the intercourse. When they don't do precisely every now and then, that leads to the headache, because this particular point is the resuscitation point, this particular point is the adrenergic point, this particular point to be known as a consciousness point, this point to be known as a harmony point, this point to be known as a equilibrium point, this point to be known as a making the harmony between the male and female, and also feeling the thought of the orgasm once will come to the female, at the same time semen come out from the male. So definitely that feel kind of the relaxation for the whole day, he feel pleasantable. At the same time, when the newly married people, they are doing the coitus every day, they feel that very awesome all the time. At the same time, at the person at the age of 30 years doing the coitus at least weekly once or twice is recommended. At the age of the 35 years, at least the weekly once is recommended to meet each other. At the same time 40 years also weekly once is recommended. At the age of 50 years minimum fortnightly it is required. At the age of 60 years at least a monthly once to be required to meet each other. So making the pleasantable and harmony, because essence is required together, orgasm also required. When joining together, that kind of the feeling, not I am telling you join together with the pleasantable way, with the happy way, with the good relationship, with the husband and wife relationship, and also thought process will be good because we are understanding each other. When the person is lying down, the bed chamber is when the wife is sleeping in the one chamber, the husband is sleeping in the another chamber, then making the pleasantable or unpleasantable, you can judge on it. But how many days can sustain this? But of course cannot sustain for the longer interval. That's the reason who in point is very much important. Not only doing the coitus get the pleasantable, that pleasantable is good for the CNS, isn't it? When the central nervous system, which we call as a happy hormone, which we call as a dopamine, and melatonin, serotonin will release us in the body, that will be really, really essential. When we understand about the estrogen, when we understand about the testosterone and progesterone, all are required. All are required to male, all are required to female as well. When this doing the coitus, it releases naturally. When both the hormones are good to the female and male, definitely the orgasm will be successful. At the same time, male can give the happiness to the female and vice versa. You understand, the female gets the kind of the phobia that I could not able to do that. At the same time, the spermatic cord, which we call as a something, there is a fluid which we call as a prostatic fluid, comes for the lubrication. That lubrication is not happening to the body, so that time doing the great difficulty, doing the coitus will be difficult. So that particular time is female gets that no, I don't have to do any kind of the coitus, because we understand is the low libido, we understand the sexual drive will be more, that understand there will be good kind of the essence is released. Essence are nothing but is the two kind of the essence for the male and female. Male essence to be known as a sperm, the other orgasm to be known as a female essence. So essence together is joining together, that will be really awesome to get joining together. That is required for the production, that's required for the reproduction, that is required for the growth and development of the human system, isn't it? So therefore you make sure that इसका मतलब ये नहीं है, then you can do it in the differently, that go and meet to somewhere else to giving the presentable. Of course, where eligibility is there, so that particular situation definitely meeting together, that will be really awesome to treat for the pelvic related disorders. कभी बोलते हैं कि कभी husband likes to do the coitus and wife doesn't like, and vice versa, that also doesn't feel presentable feeling when joining together and making that yes, we wanted to join today, and definitely that will release us in our body, isn't it? When there is no intention at all and doing the coitus doesn't have much presentable, of course surprise is different, but however husband and wife is there, make the proper arrangements and environment, that will be really helpful. And the people who don't get the children that particular time, they have the intention मुझे सिर्फ मिलना है because I need the children, that's the reason they join together without having the great intention, that also is not really good. So presentable feeling, at the same time blissful situation, male and husband, that will be really helpful to treat for the says female hormones and male hormones, both can be regulated precisely once we activate by giving the pressure or by giving the needling on that particular situation. That is the beauty of this particular point. Make sure this is the vulnerary point, dangerous point, at the same time it is the inhibitory point. But however, in certain situations it is required. For example, uterine prolapse are there, vaginal prolapse are there, rectum prolapse is there. That particular situation also we just add up this particular point. At the same time, any kind of the prolapse which I told you, the organs can be keep it precisely in particular situation, so that is the spleen is governing and regulating all the vessels, all the positions and postures precisely in one particular position, that indicating to the spleen. When you are activating this particular point, at the same time you just activate to the spleen, that will be really good to treat for the numerous diseases connected to the any kind of the prolapse situation. Hopefully you understand this particular point.